Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you with us. And this is our fourth installment of the Hope They're Housing webinar series, which we're calling our Survivor webinar series. And today we're going to be talking about how to survive and build your career in the midst of a crisis. And know that this is a time that so many have been hit by the economic crisis and the health crisis. And really just want to talk about, we have a couple great guests today to give you some tips just around career. You know, and the first thing, want everyone watching this to know, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording later on. At this point, 43 million people across America have filed for unemployment. So if you're one of those, know you are not alone out there, but know that there are still some things you can be doing right now. So that's what we're going to talk about today. As far as being on the Zoom here with us, there should be a chat box if you're with us live, and in that chat box, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us a note there so we can be watching that. Dixie is behind the scenes and she's watching those questions as well, and we can throw those to our presenters if you have any questions there. So we're going to jump right in and get started. You know, I want to start by sharing just real quickly a couple tips from Indeed.com. So you might know there are tons of jobs out there online. LinkedIn, Indeed is another great resource for that, where you can search all kinds of jobs. And I'm pretty sure it's a consolidator, so it pulls jobs from other websites as well. But they put out an article on staying productive during COVID-19 if you're looking for a job. I want to share just a couple of the tips that they had. And I encourage you, as you're watching this, if you have a piece of paper there and a pen and you want to take some notes, just as we go along, encourage you to do that. And by the way, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and watch the recording later on. Or if you're watching it recorded right now, you can always go back if you need to slow it down and take some notes there. You know, the first tip that Indeed gives is simply not to give up, to keep applying. Once you apply, to keep going. If you're not hearing back from employers, to maintain your momentum. One of the tips they have is to set a daily application goal. So to say, hey, look, every day I'm going to apply for 5 jobs, and making sure that those are jobs that are tailored specifically to your skill set, jobs you'd be qualified for, but set a goal for yourself. Secondly, they talk about doing regular reevaluations. And they say to optimize your search, reevaluate your cover letter, your resume, even the jobs that you're applying to. And I think that Alan is with us today. He's going to talk a little bit about some of those things. Particularly tailoring your resume and your cover letter every time you apply. Make sure it's not cookie cutter, making sure that it's really addressed and tailored to the employer who you're and for the job that you're actually applying for. You know, something else they talked about was supplementing your income. And so looking for possibly, even if what you want and need is full-time work, temporarily considering a part-time job if that's going to help to pay some bills. Looking at remote jobs, and then gig work. You hear about the gig economy. So whether that's being an Uber driver or right now a Grubhub driver or some of those other jobs, there's so many different gig jobs out there as well that you might look for. One of the things that I learned is that on Indeed, you can literally search for jobs that are hiring immediately. And if you search those terms, it will actually pull up for you a list of jobs that are hiring right away. Some of them with a very quick application process and to get you in pretty quickly. So thought that was interesting. A couple of other quick tips. You know, they say these are tips for staying positive. First, remember what's important. Remember that it's perfectly acceptable to prioritize your health and your loved ones. So there are times where we need to slow down and go, hey, look, right now, my health is the most important thing. So to keep that in mind. At the same time, being patient with ourselves. You know, between all the unanswered questions, figuring out the best steps to take your specific circumstance, you know, it's really important that we're patient with ourselves, with our employers or potential employers, and those around us during this time. And the last one, the biggest one, which we don't usually think of in the category of job searching, is to keep healthy, to take care of yourself. You're going to be at your best only if you're taking care of yourself during this time. And so doing what you need to do to reduce stress. Some of the things that they recommend are taking time to focus on your physical and mental health. And that includes some simple things. Taking a walk, making sure you're getting plenty of exercise, eating well, and the last one, getting enough sleep. And if you do those three things, you're on the road to making sure you're taking care of yourself and, again, staying your best. So with that, you've heard enough from me. I want to introduce Alan Arzu. Alan is somebody who works for us here at National Core in our HR department. Great guy, I can tell you personally. And I'll tell you a little bit about his background. He was raised, for the most part, in California, a military brat, as he put it. He has a wife and 2 children, and these are his words, not mine. He has a 10-year-old stinky boy and a 14-year-old princess. And so we'll see if he tells us more about that, but we appreciate that. His education, he has an associate's degree and a bachelor's in business with a concentration in accounting, even though he says he's never spent a day doing accounting. And I completely understand that, my brother. Discovered management working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and then transitioned into recruiting and found it to be a calling. And that's what he does here at National Core as well. So for about 10 years, Alan's been in recruiting, which means his job is to find strong candidates and strong individuals to come work for us here at National Core. It's going on 3 years here at National Core, and if you ask him why, he says, because the people that I work with and the company mission, what we're all about. He says, we wake up every day with a wonderful purpose. And on the personal side, he loves music and photography. So, hey, Alan, so glad to have you with us today, and I'm turning it over to you and really look forward to what you have to share with us.
Okay, wonderful. I'll try to jump right into this. What I try to do when it comes to just dealing with resumes, I'm going to share my screen in just a moment, but resumes for me, it's your entryway. It's your way to communicate with us as an organization or me as a recruiter. So it's your first, I guess, introduction. It's kind of an opening statement. So let me get to share my screen here for you. It's not showing.
If you go up to view at the top, Alan, I don't know if you're able to hit view there, if that gives you the option.
I hit view, but it's not doing it.
Well, we can see it here.
Are you seeing it just as the?
Hey, Alan, if you go back to slideshow and then on the left, it says from beginning.
There we go.
All right, so this is the fun of live webinars, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I apologize to you. Anyways,
so there we go. All right, figured it out.
I apologize to you guys, but this basically, again, I'm starting kind of from scratch and letting you know the first thing you need to do is create a resume. Now, my suggestion for you is before you do anything, before you search for jobs, before you do any of that, create a resume. It's very important because what it does for you when you create a resume, it allows you to focus on you as an individual, and it really helps you to find out what you're really good at or what your work history looks like. It really helps you to find what you're a good fit for. That way, when you're searching for jobs, you're being specific about what you're looking for. Again, it's part of being a time saver. Most of us don't go looking for jobs every day, and it can be pretty taxing on you emotionally when you're looking for jobs. But if you know what you're looking for, it really kind of cuts down on your time on the computer and things of that nature. So let me go to the first screen here. The resume. There's several different resumes out there. There's just, and I'm going to go over I would call them the top 4, which is chronological, functional, combination, and targeted resumes. One of the things that I look at in a resume for you as a candidate, when you apply or send in your resume, when the recruiter looks at it, we look at probably anywhere between 50 and 200 resumes. So for me,
Alan, can I stop you for a second? Alan? You're muted again. Alan? I'm gonna send a message to Alan so he knows.
So we've lost Alan's audio, as you can hear there. So as we try to get that back up, I don't think he knows. He's speaking very passionately to us. Okay, there we go. Let's see if he can figure out how to get his audio going again. In the meantime, what I might suggest we do, Dixie, I don't know if, or Alan, if you can hear us. You're muted now. Can you unmute, Alan?
All right, can you hear?
Now we can hear.
Okay, I apologize to you.
All right.
I don't know where I left off.
I think you were still in the overview of the different types of resumes, about to go into the details of those.
Okay.
Take two.
Take two. Okay, there's several different type resumes. You have chronological, functional, combination, and targeted. There's several different that you can use. I'm going to kind of go in order of probably the most frequent that we see as far as your resumes go. Again, your resumes are your first opportunity to introduce yourself to the company or me as a recruiter. It's very important for you guys to realize that you spend time on your resume so that a person like me sees it and actually will pick on it and make sure that I give you a call. So that's the important part of that. I'll go into the next one. All right, a chronological resume, which is basically, it's probably the one that I see most often. And the benefit of it, it allows you to highlight your work experience. And you want to do it in chronological order, which means your most recent employer down to your least most recent employer. For me as a recruiter, it allows me to get through it pretty quickly and really find out if you're a quick fit for our opportunity. I look at that and I say, what have you been doing most recently? And is it something that we're looking for? I'll show you an example of a chronological resume. Again, you'll have an opportunity to take a look at this. But as you notice here on this particular resume, this person's a master electrician. So it shows his most recent experience, and it allows us to look at how long he's been at that position as well. So that's one of the things that you want to take a look at. Very easy to follow, very easy. The second one is your functional resume, typically used by job seekers that may be changing careers or have gaps in employment. And the reason I even mentioned gaps in employment and even limited experience is because, granted, you're going to have people out there that have that. What it allows you to do is highlight what may get me to give you a call. If I'm looking functionally and I'm looking at your past experience and seeing what you've done, I may see the gaps in employment, but it may spur me to give you a call to ask about your gaps in employment. What that does for you, it allows you a chance to explain why there's gaps in employment. Especially with times now, we've had this virus and it's caused people to have a gap in employment. There's people that are going to be unemployed for serious periods of time here. That most employers sometimes frown upon that, but if we know it's because of the virus, then that's a logical reason why you haven't had some employment. Also, limited experience. We do get those that maybe have just finished high school that have never had a job in the past, but have been trained at school. So there's different experience that you had as far as ROP or different programs, job corps, different things like that that can really tell us about your experience. So definitely keep a look and use that as well. Pardon me. This is another example of functional resume. As you can see, the person even took time to kind of highlight them by making them bold, you know, relevant sales or relevant skills, sales, merchandising, things of that nature. Combination resume is just as it says, it's a combination. So it's a combination of the two, being a functional resume, pardon me. But it allows us to kind of get through it, as well as you can highlight certain things and pick them out on your resume. So it's definitely a good tool to use. This is another example of a combination. As you can see, it shows their experience, their relative work experience, again, in chronological order, and then it highlights their skills as well. So those are things that you can take a look at. Again, the resumes are so different. Each one is unique in itself. You can take opportunities to make it unique for you by using bold, sometimes using italics, and different things to really help a person like myself go through and really kind of spot a resume because it's a little bit different. The last one is a targeted resume. The time I usually see this is when we have a special position, maybe, that's not something that you see frequently. Especially in the craft field where some people are doing certain different crafts, they use a target resume because it really highlights what they're really good at. I see that quite often with our tech people. Many of our tech people have skills, some skills I don't even know of, but they have a lot of skills, and they use it because sometimes they don't have the education to support that, but they have the skills. Much of their work is done freelance. So this allows them to be focused on, based on their skill set. This is another example of a targeted resume. But again, at the very top, you can kind of see where they're really highlighting all their different skills. You see the affiliations as well. So it kind of helps to, when I say target, it helps me to target onto those things. So those are some things you can do there. Now the cover letter is a little different. Well, not different. It's not something I see often, but when it comes to the cover letter and the resume, what I'm seeing is that the higher the compensation, the higher the expectations are for those things. So if you're going for a high compensated position, you definitely want to have a resume or cover letter, and you want to have a great resume. Why is that? Because now it becomes even more so competitive. Your higher compensated positions, guess what? Those are the positions everybody wants. So you got to make sure you don't make any mistakes and allow us to take a look at you. But this kind of highlights some of the things when it comes to a cover letter. It highlights your qualifications, shows that you're a good fit for the job which you're applying. It allows you to show that you're unique to each position, and it gives your employers a sense of your personality, motivation, and writing skills. Those are all things, especially the higher the compensation, the more those come into play. So it gives you a chance to show your skill level. Before I even move off of this, I'll show you a cover letter real quick. Oops. This is kind of an example of a cover letter. Definitely take a look at this and read it. And I'm going to go more into resumes in general. With resumes, I'm going to give you kind of the do's and don'ts on them. Make sure they're easy to read. What I'm finding now is what's out there is people say that it's important to have a one-page resume. So people make a one-page resume, but they have a lot of stuff. So the font gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And as you can see, I wear glasses, and I get to resume 25. Guess what? I'm not really excited about reading small print. So if it causes you to have 2 pages, do 2 pages. One thing that I do find is the higher the more compensation for the position, guess what? The more pages are the resumes. So don't get caught up in just a one-page resume, although that's great. That does me a favor as a recruiter, but you're trying to get a position. So make sure you use the right tool that's right for you. Another one of the do's, make sure you edit your resume to the position. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the day when Greg used to do resumes. Used to do it on a typewriter. Is that right, Greg? Well, a typewriter. He knows what a typewriter is.
That's actually right. And if I'm being honest, I met my wife in a typing class in high school. So that dates us, since I don't even think they have typing class in high school anymore. So
Well,
yes, I
yeah.
actually did use a typewriter.
Okay, so when you used the typewriter, you couldn't edit quickly. It took time, and then you had to photocopy your resumes. Well, guess what? With technology, we have a computer, so you can edit quickly and efficiently. So it's very important. One of the do's is to have multiple type resumes. So make sure you do that. And the reason I say multiple types, it depends on the position you're applying for. So just make sure you do something like that. Another big thing or big ticket thing is to make sure you get your resume edited or reread by somebody else. If you're reading your own resume, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to catch the mistakes. But if you have someone else reread the resume, they'll catch your mistakes. And sometimes if it's a friend of yours, they will actually point out opportunities for you to show certain skills that you haven't put on your resume. A lot of times we're a little humble when it comes to our individual selves, and a resume is your opportunity to brag. So we want to make sure we brag about ourselves. And if you use your one of your best friends or friends that know you, they'll be able to highlight a lot of the skill set that you have that you didn't even realize you have. Some of the don'ts of resume writing is, pardon me, don't take it lightly. What I see sometimes on resumes is mistakes. Literally, someone will put their name and they'll take a resume like this one says John Doe on it. They've taken it to edit it, but they don't edit it. So I get things of that nature. So it's very important that you don't take it lightly and you take the time to do your resume properly. Another thing that's important is that do not put personal information on your resume. So what's personal information? Your age, your family. You don't want to put any of that information on there. Some people put pictures on their resume. I'm going to say don't do that. Why wouldn't you want to put your picture on there? For me as a recruiter, it puts me in a bad position in that we don't want to do anything that would, I guess, cause us to make a decision. So if you put how many members you have in your family, I can forward it to a hiring manager and they may look at that and frown upon it. So you want to leave anything that's personal off your resume. We want to look at you as a candidate and your individual qualifications. So make sure you do that. Before I get done with this, your job with the resume, cover letter, all that, your job right now is to get an interview. That's your job. So it's very important that you spend the time to do all these things correctly. And the last thing I can tell you to get an interview is pick up the phone, call. It's very important. No one will tell you that, but I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for about 10 years. 10 years ago, my phone would ring constantly. Now, in a week, I may get 7, 8 phone calls. So guess what? If you call me, I'm going to remember who you are because I don't get phone calls. And it also allows me to pull up your resume while you're on the phone, and it gives you an opportunity to sell me on why I should bring you in for an interview. And truth be told, I like personality, and if you called me, you're already telling me you have a personality, and that's important to me as an employer. So one of the biggest things I can tell you is pick up the phone and call. A lot of places won't give you phone numbers, but that doesn't mean they don't want you to call. They just want to see that you make the effort to go and find an employer and go for a position. And granted, it's like dating. We want to be dated, so please make that phone call. Interview. Now, this is part of really closing the deal to get the job. If you get an interview, you are very, very fortunate. Most companies do not do a ton of interviews. They really narrow down how many people they want to interview. Doing the interviews takes a lot of time, and it takes time out from our managers, our hiring managers. So it's not frequently that you do a lot of interviews. So if you get an interview, you're in the running. So know that. These are kind of the top 5 for an interview, in my opinion, is be.
Alan, we just lost your audio again, and you were doing so well too. Can you hear us?
Okay, can you hear me?
You're back. Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. All right. With the interview, these are kind of my top 5 for the interview. First is be early to the location. Early is not 3 minutes. It's not 5 minutes. It's 15. You want to be early to the location. What that allows you to do, it allows you to relax. It allows you to think over things that maybe you forgot, and now you can figure out how you're going to adapt to that. It really gives you time. So get there about 30 to 15 minutes early. That's my suggestion. Keep in mind also, the interview doesn't start when you get in the room. It starts when you're in the parking lot. Why did I say that? Let's say you're driving around the parking lot and you see a parking space and someone cuts you off and takes it. Now you get angry and you honk your horn and throw your fist up. Guess what? That might be the person that's interviewing you. So your behavior needs to start when you're coming into that parking lot, okay? Once you park, again, it allows you to relax, maybe listen to a little music, review your notes, review information about the organization that you're interviewing for. Also allows you, if you haven't already, sometimes you can look on different, Indeed, or even the job board, and you can see information about the people that are actually doing the interviews. Sometimes they're posted up on the website, so you want to take a look at that. The next thing is make sure you're dressing appropriately for the interview. What does appropriately mean? That's such a dicey word, but what it means is dress for not the position that you're interviewing for, but the position that's actually interviewing. In other words, you want to dress like the boss. That's very important. And why is that important? It's your first impression to the team. Now, let's say you're interviewing for a job as a mechanic. Okay, I get it. A suit, maybe you'd feel maybe overdressed, but that won't prevent you from getting a job. They may give you a hard time about it, but they'll joke with you, but they know you're serious about getting a position. So make sure you dress appropriately. Our workplace and work environment is business casual, but I got to tell you, when someone comes in a suit, it's very impressive. So make sure you do that. Also, bring multiple copies of your resume and cover letter. What I'm finding most recently is that people are saying, well, I applied online and you had my resume, so don't you have copies? That's not my job to have copies of resumes and cover letters. That's your job as a candidate. So make sure you have those items ready. Plus, if you tend to be good in the interview, sometimes they will invite multiple people to meet you as well. And you want to be prepared for that. That's your opportunity to kind of sell to more than one person. So make sure you have those items. One of the most important things is, in this as well, is be the same person on paper as you are in person. In other words, be able to articulate your past experience and support your skills that are on your resume. So don't doll up your resume and have it look really nice and say a lot of wonderful things about yourself, and then you not be able to articulate those things as well. I like to say, me as an employer or a recruiter, I control the interview, but you really control the perception. My perception, I get all of that from the way you behave, the way you dress, the way you make eye contact, the way you have a conversation. Nervous is not bad, but you got to find a way to relax in the interview because that's going to give you your best opportunity. Let me go to the next one. Post-interview. I call this a post-interview because this is an important part of getting a position. The post-interview starts, or really kind of starts when the hiring manager or me as a recruiter says to you, okay, do you have any other questions? Now that gives you an opportunity to ask questions and go into different things. Also, one of the big things that I like to say, or what I tried to do when I left, I always tried to give the hiring managers an opportunity to really look at me as a candidate by giving them the top 3 reasons why I'm best for the position. I close the deal. I'm the last one to speak. But that way they kind of remember who I am and they know what my skill set is. And it really gives them a chance, or gives me a chance to highlight my skill set. Another thing that is underrated that people don't realize is that you must, by all means, give much respect and appreciation to the receptionist. That's typically the first person you meet in the interview. And me as a recruiter, it's the person I'm closest to. I rely on that person a great deal, not only to greet you as a candidate, but I also ask them about what happened in the lobby. Was the person attentive? Was the person respectful of people that walk through? Were they gracious? All those things are important because that's the type of person I want on our team. So make sure you greet and respect the receptionist. And as you leave, that's another thing you must do, is make sure you say bye to the receptionist. That's very important as well. They're very important people, and they're very important people to our team. And we respect them and love them a great deal. The last thing is send thank you notes. Myself, thank you notes are nice, but I kind of like the phone call. And the phone call is not just one to say, have you made a decision, but it's another opportunity for you to make sure I know your skill set and why you're a great candidate for this opportunity. I think that's pretty much it. I know I threw a lot of information at you. The reason I did is because it's so liquid now when it comes to hiring. Matter of fact, we're doing something like this now where we're doing Zoom interviews. So I'm not even seeing people in person now. So you have to be really flexible. And the thing that I think makes you a winner is that you go out and you try hard. You put out the effort to look for a position. You got an interview, and now close the deal. Continue to show your effort. Effort goes a long way, folks, in every way. I think that's it for me. I think I'll throw it back to Greg.
Alan, so good. Thank you so much, man. You can unshare your screen there. But man, that was really good information. And I hope for everybody listening to hear from Alan, who does this every single day, to hear those tips. I think they were so right on. A couple things, that I heard that stood out to me. One is in that resume and your cover letter, to make sure that you're highlighting and bolding kind of those key skills, those key things you want to jump out, to make sure they don't have to look for it. Make sure that recruiter doesn't have to dig through it to find the best things. I mean, make it easy, for them to find. Great tip. Alan, you said pick up the phone, right? Make that phone call. So, I mean, for an average job, I mean, how many resumes do we get? 100, couple hundred?
Yeah, at least.
So, I mean, a couple hundred resumes, and the reality is many of them could look very similar. So the one thing that make you stand apart, if your resume isn't going to make you stand apart, could be that phone call and making contact and let them see your determination there. Interviewing, so appreciate you saying, overdress rather than underdress. I think that's completely right. It does, just show that you're taking it seriously. And then, one thing I don't know if you mentioned too is, it's amazing to me how often we do an interview with someone and we get to the end and say, so do you have any questions for us? And they say, nope. I'm good. Yeah. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you've researched the company, the organization, the job. That really shows that, you're serious about it. You're serious about the opportunity, but make sure you have a couple questions prepared as well for you to ask them about the job or about the organization. You can ask about their values. You can ask about what they do to reward, what they do to build their team. Just have some questions, ready to go when asked that question, because pretty much every time you're going to get that question in an interview. So thank you so much, Alan. That was great. I want to introduce now to you Sandra Bowers. Dixie's holding up her hand. Is there something, Dixie, you're muted?
Just really quick before we move on to Sandra, I was looking at the chat box, and there was a question for Alan from Gary that says, is the functional resume maybe more preferable for older, seasoned applicants?
Great question.
It really, the type of resume depends on the position. Again, what you want to do is eliminate anything like age. We don't want to consider age. So you don't want to gear your resume to make it feel that way. So it really doesn't matter. One of the things with positions, maybe look at just posting on maybe the last 8 years. So we can ask about things prior to that, but maybe the last 8 years. Again, you want to make sure you put yourself in a position where they can't guess. So age is not even something we consider. So don't worry about that. It's really gearing it towards the position that you want.
That's great. Yeah, that was a good question. So that was gonna be my fault. But yeah, if you are using a chronological resume, like you said, you don't have to include everything there, right? I mean, you can limit, to the most recent. And then, Alan, what about education? Can they leave dates off for the time they
Absolutely.
graduated from high school or college?
Right. You don't want to put any dates on there. Really, again, it's you want to look at your resume and say, what's my best guess? Who is this person? And you want to make sure you allow or put the recruiter in a position to judge you based on your talent, and your put your best foot forward. So if you think it's really your skill set, then you can make it a functional resume. That's fine. So it's really, you want to highlight who you are and what you are as an employee.
Very good. Great. Hey, Dixie, thanks for pointing out that question was there. I'd missed that. Appreciate that. So I want to introduce Sandra Bowers to you. Sandra works on our team here at the Hope Through Housing Foundation. She's also one of our economic mobility or financial coaches here as well. So works one-on-one with some of our residents and is available to do that with a few others to work one-on-one on financial issues, including employment and careers. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about Sandra. Sandra entered the financial sector and became a licensed real estate agent first and a mortgage professional back in 2004, speaking of dates, and then realized what a challenge it was for the average person to purchase a home and realized, the difficulties there. She knew then that she wanted to help people, especially underserved communities, and to empower them with financial knowledge. And so after the Great Recession affected our financial industry, she found herself working for Springboard as an underwriter for the Keep Your Home California program and Make Your Home Affordable program. She then transitioned to work with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency as an independent agent. That sounds very complicated, Sandra, and as an auditor, and focusing on foreclosure fraud. So she knows the, I think, credit and the real estate industry really well. She subsequently worked for Neighborhood Partnership Housing Service, where she continued her work as an underwriter for down payment assistance programs and teaching home buyer classes for low to moderate income families, helping them to purchase their first home. And Sandra still does some of that work for us, helping families. If you have an interest in becoming a homeowner, she has some great knowledge in the different programs that might be out there to help you and what you might need to do to get buyer ready. So she joined Hope Through Housing in 2014, has been here since then. She first ran the Family Opportunity Center and is now our regional director for the Inland Empire in East San Bernardino County. She has 2 children and loves to paint and draw. And it's truly my pleasure working with Sandra. She's a great asset to this team. And I'm going to end with, she said, my greatest work is to help our community succeed in their daily lives financially and to watch them succeed. And so I think you'll see and hear that in Sandra. So Sandra, thanks so much for being with us, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Greg. And I will say it's a pleasure to work with you as well and our team. Alan, I do remember being in a typing class, I will say, in high school, and you dated us. Yeah, I remember those days. I'm going to jump right in. Dixie, if you can pull up my presentation she has. And for anyone listening, I do have my contact information up so that you can contact me. I work for Hope Through Housing. I am one of the regional directors here. We do have free financial counseling for our residents and community members. We want to be able to reach out and help you during this time. I know that, with Greg sharing, we have now 43 million people on unemployment, filed for unemployment. That is a tremendous amount of people. And it may be one of you who are listening here today, and the uncertainty that you may feel. I know I would feel that way as to what's going to happen at this point. I felt it would be very beneficial for us to cover the CARES Act and to see what unemployment benefits are helping our families. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring to the forefront. The CARES Act was signed into law by our president, President Trump, on March 27th. This type of CARES Act is the first that I've seen. I know that the HEROES Act, which is the second stimulus package, is still on the table right now for the Senate, and I don't know what's going to be happening with that. A lot of people are saying it may pass. Others are saying that it may not pass. They may have to go back and revise some things in that. But it does expand employment insurance benefits who are available for the millions who are out of work because of COVID-19. We are in this pandemic that is something that in your lifetime, possibly, I know in my lifetime, I've never experienced a pandemic. And then to have our country closed down in a way that it has, and people working from home, people not able to work, they did enact this CARES Act, which is amazing, as well as the different resources that will be coming out through this CARES Act for those who are looking for rental assistance within your counties. That type of rental assistance will be dispersed to different nonprofits from the research that I've been doing and keeping everybody up to date within Hope Through Housing and helping our residents know how to reach out for that type of rental assistance. It all falls under this CARES Act. But it is the Unemployment CARES Act there under COVID-19 includes people who are not ordinarily eligible for unemployment. This is the first time I see it this way when I compare this pandemic to the recession, which we all remember what happened in the recession. Our numbers for unemployment at particularly this time is higher than the recession, and the whole scenario is different. But this also extends to self-employed, as you can see, which that is something that I have never seen, and independent contractors and gig workers. So it all falls under the CARES Act. They did try to cover as many different scenarios for people and how you are working, how I am working, how your loved one, your kids are working, so that they can be able to get unemployment insurance. I'll go to the next screen. What is the unemployment benefits? I wanted to cover some of the most frequent questions that people have asked me for unemployment when we're doing the financial counseling for our residents and for the community who's reaching out to us. How many weeks can you collect unemployment? How long are you entitled to it? It depends on the state law. It is important to file your benefits through the state, obviously, which is California, and they'll determine the eligibility that you are eligible for and additional federal benefits. Now, this is something, if you can go to the next screen and I'll cover those federal benefits. The federal benefits that they're discussing there is the $600 additional per week of federal benefits. This is the first time that I have seen something like this take place. It is per week, and that is on top of your regular benefits that you are receiving. I wanted to see when it was going to end. When they first wrote it out, and especially with Governor Newsom's memorandum, if you've had a chance to take a look at that, a lot of it dates, the memorandum dates until end of May. Obviously, we're still in the scenario that we are in. I'm sure that they're going to extend out different extensions or addendums to that memorandum. But this actual $600 per week federal benefit, it states that it's going to be ending July 31st. However, I wouldn't doubt that it would extend out to the, depending on what they decide at that particular point. I know in the HEROES Act, what they were, for the second stimulus, they were looking at maybe January. So it depends. We did see in the recession, when I was working in the recession, helping people stay in their homes. That's where I learned how to counsel for foreclosure prevention and work with families to help stay in their homes. I don't even know how many countless people I helped with that under HUD. And we didn't charge any of the families for that particular counseling when you're doing HUD counseling. And what we saw at that particular point is people were receiving unemployment for 18 months. And foreclosure at that particular time, lenders were not foreclosing on homes for about 24 months. It took them 24 months to even go through the process when a normal foreclosure is 7 to 9 months. And the reason for that we saw was that the providers wanted to make sure that the properties were not going to be empty. That's a whole different topic in itself, but the reason why I bring it up is that it may be similar to what we're experiencing now. A lot of what I saw during the recession, there's a lot of similarities in this day and time of what we're experiencing right now, except we have a pandemic on it. But there may be a lot of similarities. So I bring it up so that you know that it may be extended out. Even though we see here that July 31st, this is the research that I found at this particular point, but you may be able to get it longer than that. So the next question is, what happens after I exhaust my regular state benefits? You may be eligible for additional benefits under the Federal Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, which is available until December 31st. So they actually wrote that into the end of the year, which I personally feel that, as you see the $600 that I put there, that July 31st may align with that December 31st there. That's just my thinking on it, but of course, we have to see how that's going to roll out. There's no guarantee. Obviously, I don't work for unemployment. You would have to stay, if you are receiving unemployment benefits and you are watching this actual webinar, you would want to stay in contact with unemployment and to see what's your next step. I know that here in California, they have opened different offices and more offices so that people who are trying to reach out to EDD, they will be able to at least get some answers and get some direction. I know that has been a big issue for everyone filing, is not being able to file. If you are listening to this webinar and you have been still attempting to file, do it. Continue to try to get in. I've heard a lot of people saying it kicks me out. I got denied. What I have been hearing is a lot of people who are self-employed, they filed too soon. After April 28th is what the date was, April 28th, that's when you could file for the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance for the self-employed. So people who were self-employed applied too soon and they got denied. And then they thought they couldn't apply. So if you are self-employed and you got denied prior, go ahead and apply again. You want to make sure that you take the benefit of what you're able to do right now to support your family, to support yourself, to support your children, to get yourself into that position to be able to pay your bills and get ahead and get through this particular season. And keep in mind, I think that the biggest challenge that I see when I'm talking with our residents and with community members who are going through this pandemic, and we're all going through it together, is that it's only a season. And keep that in mind, is that this is the season that we're in at this particular point, but there's an end to a season. So there'll be an end to this season that we're going through, and we'll get to the other side. We definitely will. Next slide, please. So some people who were ready to, I've heard this quite a bit. I was getting ready to start a new job, but I couldn't because of COVID-19. Self-employed workers, independent contractors, gig, just like how Greg said, economy workers, and people who have not worked long enough to qualify for other types of unemployment assistance may still qualify for the PUA. You have to go under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance to meet one of the COVID-19 reasons. And I've seen the COVID-19 reasons. There's about 10 of those. I'm going to give you all the information that I have here on these slides. I sourced them through, and I'll give you the sources so that you can take a look at that, and you can always go back to this webinar and you can take a look at what I saw there. But you may still qualify. As a friend of mine who is an Uber driver, Uber Lyft driver, and those normally wouldn't qualify for unemployment. They are able to get unemployment at this particular time. The next thing that I hear a lot, what if you don't qualify for regular unemployment benefits like I was explaining, or I have exhausted all of my federal benefits? So the benefits can last up to 39 weeks, which includes the number of weeks of regular benefits. If you receive 13 weeks of benefits from your state and an additional 13 additional weeks from the Federal Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation, you may receive another 13 weeks under this program. So that's really important to know. And that's good to know so that you can see that. So a lot of uncertainty is out there. What if it's, unemployment's going to be done And then what am I going to do? And my job is not going to call me back. Or another big question and another big thing that we're dealing with is the families who need daycare. And I know that we're going in different stages of our Southern California, what stage we're in different counties, what stage we're going to be in. And those are big concerns I hear from our families. Those are valid concerns. My kids are older. I don't have to worry about that. But you may be listening and be concerned about that. What am I going to do? Where's my child going to stay? I need to stay on unemployment until another month, until I'm able to situate my daycare. I get it. These are real life issues and real life questions that on a daily basis are being asked to me and to my team. And of course, we can only give the information that we have, but take it one day at a time. That's the only, like Greg, he mentioned there that health is priority. Our mental health is priority as well. When you're dealing with very tough situations like we are right now, we want to take that time and work on your peace and work on your health, because in the end, you want to come out of all of this healthy, know that it's a season, get the benefits. If you are receiving benefits, is 100% there for us. Receive what you can receive and know what the information that you need to know about unemployment. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this, and this is where I'll close. How do I best use my time while I'm not working? Well, that's a really good topic, and I wanted to share with you. My daughter right now, she was laid off and she's on unemployment, but she's going to school. She's going to LACC, and one of the things that I did talk with her about, I said, you know what, it would be great if you started volunteering your time. And in her field is a legal field. And actually, she just got connected with a law office in San Diego to possibly do some research. So she is receiving, maybe volunteering time there. She is on unemployment. One of the biggest things I will always say is volunteer time. If you are in a place where you're able to volunteer time and you're using your time wisely to position yourself, that's, for me, it's always going to be to position yourself for the next thing that's going to happen. My son himself, he's 19. He had his previous job. I told him, you know what, sweetheart, a lot of people right now are hiring. Some people who are receiving unemployment are waiting to hear back to see what's going to happen with their employer. This may be a great time for you to apply. And this may be it'll put you ahead of a lot of other people. When other people are starting to go back into the workforce, you're going to have a lot of people that it's going to be inundated at that time. So you want to think about those things and see, when is a good time for me to start looking for work? If in fact my job is not going to reinstate my position. One thing I did see during the recession, and I know that Alan can probably help me with this, but what I saw when I was working counseling people with foreclosure prevention is we saw employers not maybe giving the same hours back to the employees. There was a lack of hours and also a difference in pay. And I'm not saying that that's something that's going to happen during this time, but be prepared for that. I think it's wise to know, I may not be able to get all of my hours. What should I do? What's my plan B? Should I volunteer and maybe line up and network and start doing some networking to get myself positioned so that when I can return back to work and I see what that looks like, but then I have another opportunity where I can pick up some other hours somewhere else. That's a good position to put yourself in. Always thinking on where can I position myself. This is also a great time to go back to school. I know that some of my friends who are laid off are taking those classes that they wanted to take. Do that. Put the classes and the education that maybe you didn't have the time to do. Take the time and do those online courses. Most of schooling right now is online, so you can do that at home with the safety of your own home and using that social distancing and getting yourself in a position. Maybe you can walk into a better job in 2 years from this time. Maybe this is something that'll catapult you to that. I don't know. But it's a good thing to think about and a good thing to position yourself about. The biggest thing for me will always be, And what I have seen at my particular age and in the financial field, I've been in the financial field for many years. I would say since 2003, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, 1993. Now I'm going to date myself, Alan. I've helped people since 1993 in the financial field, and I will say that you always want to see where you can network. Network is and maybe Alan can agree, or he can share a little more on that. But I feel that when you network within a group, that you know that doors open for you, opportunities open for people who actually network. You have the same education, you have the same skills. But when you're networking with different organizations and they see a face to you and you have volunteered your time somewhere, I will always know when I have a volunteer that's working with me in my community and they're sweating with me, passing out food or backpacks or doing something, you know that I know who they are. And if I see that they're having an interview with me, I already know where their heart is. I know I've worked alongside this person. That's something to keep in mind when you're looking to go back into the work field. Do that networking. Do those volunteer opportunities. Those are key things to get you known in your field, whatever that field may be. And of course, that's just my opinion. That's something that I have shared with residents. I have shared with community members. I've shared with my own kids. And I have said, this is something that has definitely opened a lot of doors for me. Those two things, volunteering and networking. I will put those two things out there as key things to have doors open for you. If you are on unemployment, if you are one of our residents and you're like, I feel like I need to talk to somebody about what's going on. I feel a little lost in regards to what my next step should be or whatnot. I put on the chat my email address. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. I would love to sit and talk with you and to see how we can help do a financial counseling session with you, me and Heidi. If you can click to the next screen, I think I have those are my references, the sources, the Department of Labor and the unemployment website. You can always go on to those two websites and confirm the information that I have given and shared today. And then the last screen, if you could please, we'll have our information there where you can reach out to us. Heidi is my economic mobility specialist. She's amazing. She's also a HUD counselor, HUD financial. It's different when you're a HUD financial counselor and being able to work with families and understand what low to moderate income families and the need there. And we both know that. And we've worked with different scenarios, and we would love to sit with you. You know how to reach out to me. If you have any questions for me right now, I can't see the chat box, but once I get out of this screen, I'm sure if there's any questions there, I would love to answer. But I'll give it back to you, Greg.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Again, great advice there. I'm not seeing any questions immediately in the chat box, but if anybody has any, feel free to put those over there right now. And I'll just add to it too. If anybody's feeling like, hey, look, there's all this unemployment, how am I going to get a job? Don't ever think there aren't jobs out there still. I got an email today with probably 100 local employers that have open positions, and many of them are entry-level type jobs. So could be fairly accessible. So just know with persistence, if you're determined, there are absolutely jobs out there. And Sandra, really appreciate so many of the things that you shared. I know you shared the $600 extra kind of federal unemployment benefits are expiring July 31st. Is that right? And I heard they may be extended. Do we know anything about that?
As far as, like I said, from what I have seen, it was under the HEROES Act to extend it to January of 21. But of course, that is delayed with the Senate at this point. The House passed it, but the Senate held it up, and they want to revise it. But what I think, even if they don't pass the HEROES Act, unemployment itself, all that they need, and this is what we saw during the recession, is the president will extend it out, and that's all that they would do, is just extend it out. If in fact it'll get extended out, it's just going to line up with that December 31st, I feel. But again, we're in June, the first week of June. You will probably start hearing a little more in the beginning of July, I would assume.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've heard that some employers right now actually are having a tough time getting employees to come back because of the added unemployment, which is actually a great opportunity for those looking for work. And I actually think, it would be to your benefit, go get a new job now and get employed before, that wave hits, because if it does expire July 31st, that means all those people who are enjoying those benefits right now, everyone's suddenly going to be back in the job market. So I think it'd be really wise to say, hey, I'm going to go back to work sooner, despite the unemployment benefits, just to get my foot in the door and to get going now. Would you agree with that?
100%. And that was what I had mentioned to my son. I'm like, apply now, because the market's going to be flooded and you'll stand out now. And you'll be able to get a better look at you. Because if you are, if someone is receiving unemployment and receiving those $600 a week, and that's what we're seeing, and you can't be mad at that. And it's beautiful for someone to be able to pay and get that is very much needed. But I think it is smart to go ahead and take that step and to get those interviews. And just to highlight from what you said, Greg, there is one of our partners is hiring right now in Rancho Cucamonga for warehouse. So reach out to me. I did put it in the chat box, but you do have my email address. Reach out to me. I would love to talk with you. I would love to share who that partner is, and just to see how I can help you with that.
Yeah, that's great. And for anybody watching, Sandra's email address is sbowers, that's SBOWERS @hthf.org, as in HopeThroughHousingFoundation.org. So feel free to send her an email there. Sandra, I also appreciated that you said it's only a season. So keep it into perspective. It's true. Life is full of seasons. Sometimes it's fall or winter, and other times it's spring or summer. And spring and summer are coming. We don't know exactly when, but it is a season. And your advice to get out there and volunteer or intern during this time, the best advice. I'll share a real quick story. I worked for an organization where we ran a 24-hour call center providing community resources, and had a young mom who was a single mom of 4 children, who came to us and said, hey, I want to volunteer. She had no related experience. We trained her to be a volunteer. She ended up being outstanding. As a result of that, we hired her. She got a job with us. She was then promoted, and through that, gained full-time employment with benefits, went back to school for herself. So, and that started from her saying, hey, I'm willing to come and work for free to prove myself, to get some skills. So yeah, great advice there. So, hey, thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you so much, Alan. Really appreciate both of you. Such great content. And again, for anybody watching, all of our webinars are posted on our website. That's www.hthf.org/learn. So you can go on there and rewatch this, or go back and look at the other 3 webinars that we've done recently, and we hope to keep adding to these. So everybody be safe and be well, and thanks for being with us today. Take care. Bye-bye.